You can't outperform a team that you don't understand. You can hit goals, maybe even crush a quarter, but if your team doesn't feel you, they won't follow you. So you can demand respect, but you can't demand connection. And in the team war, control feels strong, but it always breaks. But connection, that feels soft, but that's what scales. I'm Chris Hunsaker, and this is the Dealership War Room. Leadership fire, 7 minutes, built daily, fueled intentionally, and delivered relentlessly. And this week, we're unpacking the Velocity Mastermind, and we're really going to show you how can you build trust on demand and scale that trust throughout your organization. So check your email box. If you don't see it there, look in your spam. If it isn't in either of those places, then text the number on the screen, a good email address. Text us a good email address, and we'll get you caught up on the whole series. You don't want to miss it. But now, let's dive into the third war and look at how do you master the art of connection. Clarity aligns your team and consistency steadied them. But connection, that's what gets your people to fight for the mission, even when you're not in the room. And here's a truth that so many leaders miss. People do not leave companies. They leave cold leadership. I think Tyler, who is a GSM that I coach, exemplifies this better than anyone. He was an absolute process-driven guy. I mean, numbers styled, meetings timed, but turnover was killing him. And finally, he looked up at me and said, Chris, I run a perfect store that nobody wants to work in. So we built a new habit. Every Friday, we had him text one personal thank you to a team member. No metrics, no coaching, just a thank you for who they were and not for what they did. Because you build cultures not for machines, but for people, right? It doesn't matter how perfectly everything runs. It matters whether you and your people feel seen, heard, and understood. Well, 3 weeks later, all of a sudden, you could see a shift in the culture. People started to warm up. They started to want to do things for each other and even for him. And so you start to see morale go up, call-offs start to go down, production starts to go up. Why? Because once people feel seen and heard and understood, when they're connected to someone or something, we will almost all do more for others than we'll ever do for ourselves. So once people become part of something bigger and larger, they tend to perform better. Connection will always spread faster than pressure. But that connection, you have to start it. You're the one that has to begin it and build it. You have to light the flame to get it going. One of the best ways that I know how to start and maintain that sense of connection and trust is using what I call the trust triangle. The trust triangle has 3 sides: competence, care, and consistency. Those are the 3 that bring it out. So let's start with the first side, competence. Your people have to believe that you know what you're doing. They're never going to follow you. And if you start getting loose with the facts, you start kind of hedging and moving, making stuff up, they just stop listening. Number 2 is care. And you know this, that our people, they need to know that we care about them as people, that you know their names, you know their kids, you know where they like to go on vacation. Yep. I call this culture data. When I walk in and I watch a GM or a GSM or an owner or even a sales manager, a service manager, and they know all their people, they talk about their kids, their vacation, what they did. That's the cultural data. People need to know that you know them beyond their position and beyond their production, but as a person and what's going on. And that requires collecting the data, following up on the data, and using the data consistency. It is the cultural currency of care. And 3 is consistency. You need to show up the same way every time, because empathy without reliability is just chaos. And every one of you has been in a relationship at work or at home where there's a ton of empathy, but no reliability. So all you get was a bunch of chaos. When all 3 are present, trust compounds and it multiplies just like compound interest. But any one of them missing, and you can literally see the depletion by the hour. That it's that strong, it's that significant that those 3, and you want to consistently be looking. You can even draw the triangle out. I have some of my clients do that. So you can look and say, in this situation, do I have a sense of competence? Do I have a sense of care? Do I have a sense of consistency? And if you find your team or your culture breaking down, or there's some distance or things aren't working, look at yourself as a leader and say, hey, where do I need to dial up my care? Where do I need to dial up my consistency? Or where do I need to dial up my competence? Let me give you just a great little Gen Z reality check. See, Gen Z does not respond to hierarchy the way previous generations did. They respond to humanity. So when they walk into an organization or a situation, they're not asking who's in charge. They're looking around to say, who can I trust? And you want that answer to be you. Connection is not coddling. It is a superpower. And it's your ability to create an environment where people feel safe enough. And safe isn't even the right word. It's more a sense of connected, right? It's settled, peaceful, safe enough that they can bring full effort and full truth. Because if you want someone to never have an opinion and never tell the truth, but do everything you say and get full effort, you're delusional. The way to get full effort is to embrace full truth. Radical execution comes from radical candor. So let's cross the execution bridge. Here's your field test for today. Pick one person on your team, and before the end of the day, have a non-transactional conversation, a connection conversation. Not about metrics, not about performance, about them. Ask them a question that gives them the ability to let you see into their heart. Ask them something like, what are you most proud of this week? Like what happened this week that you are most proud of? And then shut up and listen, write it down and remember it, because that's a key to them and who they are. And I'd like you to keep this in mind. Leadership is about remembering what matters to the people who make what matters possible. That is an absolutely essential element of leadership. We've cleared the fog, we've built rhythm, and now we've begun to open hearts. The next battle we want to fight is the battle of capability. And this is where you stop fixing problems and you start developing problem solvers. So go out, execute today, have that non-transactional conversation. And if you really want to get better at this inner team ward, then text the number on your screen here and download our custom GPT. That'll be like having an AI conversation about how you can use what we've talked about all this week in your store right now to drive results and performance. So go out today, create some leadership fire, and I'll see you tomorrow in the dealership war room.